Okay, let's start. Om Sadashivasamarampham Shankaracharya Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay. So, any questions, clarifications, or it's been simple enough and we can go ahead?
Waiting.
Yeah.
Swamiji?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is Neeta in the waiting room? She's saying she's not able to get in only.
She's in.
Is Neeta around in the waiting room or what?
There is one Neeta Israni.
No, that is the doctor, no Neeta, that other one.
I don't know which waiting room she is in because there are 24 participants, nobody in the waiting room.
Okay, I don't know. She's. Anyway, she has to just retry, I think.
Unless she has gone to the one class I have on YouTube, the Ramayana class.
I don't know. I'll just tell her.
I've seen a lot of this stuff going on in the groups. I don't know what the big problem is.
Swamiji, on YouTube, till you start the live class, nobody can actually join.
Exactly.
So if people come 5 minutes earlier, then they stop.
Oh, yeah.
Then they keep on messaging me. I am trying to join up here and start things, and you keep on.
Yeah, but even they call us and then my phone gets disconnected then.
I know.
If I pick it up, then again I get disconnected.
There is that little awareness, little calmness. Wait, no, not there. All hyper. What have they been doing studying Vedanta? I don't know. Really, I have to say that. I don't like to make statements like that, but I have to say it. And these are not the newcomers, these are people who have been there for some time. Anyway, let's start. Okay, so we saw last time the one second. Okay, so we saw last time the advice given to the teacher by Shankara saying that such a student who Siksha Yogya should be taught. Okay. It's just a restatement that he is making. Okay. If you get a good student like this, there is no way a teacher is not going to teach you. Okay. Yeah. If you are a Sishya, all right, meaning you are Siksha Yogya, you deserve to be taught. So which teacher is not going to teach? Because the parampara also has to keep going. The parampara also has to keep going. See, it is true that when you start learning, you are learning for yourself. That is important. You are learning to gain this knowledge for yourself. Because the value behind the study is moksha, your moksha. So to keep that value in mind is very, very important. And when you are teaching also, the major focus is that everyone understands. But there is also a secondary focus from the standpoint of a teacher that the parampara has to keep going. Therefore, there has to be enough people capable of teaching. Not only people who have gained it for themselves, but who can become a link in the parampara to take it forward. Otherwise, tell me, why should someone who is Ananda Surupa go about taking the headache of an ashram, managing students, raising funds? Why should you bother? Why should you bother? I have some Guru Bhais who are classical examples of that. Why should you bother? There is this guy whom I know, very popular. One of them, I think among us, one of the most popular teachers. His class is like my public talk in terms of number of students. And his students come and tell him, Swamiji, don't worry, we will set up an ashram for you. Teach, so there will be teachers in the future. He doesn't take it up. He says, I don't want that headache. And looking at his personality, it is good he doesn't take it up. Okay. it's good that he doesn't take it up. But the need for creating that parampara is always there. Okay? That's how the knowledge was available from the Upanishadic rishis to all of us. Okay? So that is this thing. Okay. Okay. Then going further, I have to find some way of muting this noise. Okay. I am also learning what it is. This racket that goes on when somebody joins. I have to see how to mute that. Anyway, I'll do that. Okay. Then, after having said all that, the next thing will be to highlight some facet of the teaching. That's a logical conclusion, because he has mentioned who the teacher is, he has mentioned who the student is, and he has said such a student should be taught. So the logical flow would be to present some facet of the teaching, some facet of this knowledge, and that's exactly what Shankara is doing in the next verse, in the 54th verse. Drishtihi sparshtihi srutir dhritihi matir vijñateriva cha shaktyo anyascha vidyante chidrupatve api upadibhi. He says, Drishtihi, seeing, spashtihi, touching, feeling something, or hearing something, shruti, hearing something, okay, griti, smelling, okay, matihi, thinking, vijñatehe, knowing, okay. All these, he says, all these seems to be the function of consciousness. All these seems to be the function of consciousness. Why seems to be? You are a conscious entity. And who's the one who's seeing, thinking, feeling, etc., including that bell? Even though I told the watchman never to ring me up between 11 and 1, he does that. Okay. I should disconnect and keep next time. I have told him, unless there is a fire in the building, don't ring me up. Okay. But he is what he is. When my students find it difficult to follow instructions, what do you expect a watchman to do? It's okay, it's part of the game, we take it, okay? See, again. Now I have to see which is a bigger disturbance, me getting off and shutting it off and then disturbing the whole video setup, or letting the thing come into the video.
Swamiji, I hope there is no fire in the building.
If there's a fire, the fire will wait for me. Anyway, jokes apart, we are a conscious being. And as a conscious being, how do we know you're conscious? Because of all these activities. Therefore, all these seems to be the nature of consciousness. To see, to perceive things, to think, to know, to feel, all these seem to be, Eva, he says, seem to be the nature of consciousness. He says, but he says, Shaktyo anyasya vidyante chidrupatve api upadibhi. Even though it seems to be chidrupe, but really speaking, it is anyakshataya. It is because of other agents. Upadibhi, it seems to be yours, he says. Upadibhi. They are not really your nature. They seem to be your nature because of upadis. Now you will remember what an upadi is, no? That which brings about an apparent change.
Yes.
That which brings about an apparent change. Okay. Upadi. How can you prove that? The Shastra can say it, but for my logical understanding, how to see that? The simple logic. If you are aware of it, you are different from it. All the functions that you call as conscious functioning, and if you are into various systems of spirituality, you will say, hey, you have to be more conscious about all these things, which is true. But all these conscious functioning, you are aware of, you are conscious of. You are aware of the whole thing. You see and you know that you see. You hear, etc. You know that you are hearing, etc. You feel, think, etc. You know you are feeling and thinking. You know and you know that you know. You don't know and you know that you don't know. So the whole process you are aware of. You are independent of that. And the whole process is dependent on you. Why? The consciousness that is manifest in the mind makes the mind conscious. And that mind, conscious mind, is manifest in this body, associated with this body and these sense organs. Therefore, janami iti pravartate. I know, I see, I hear, etc. All these functions depend upon you consciousness, not directly, through the process of the mind, etc. So the mind, etc. becomes upadhis. That's why you knock out to the mind, the body is not conscious anyway. You can cut open that body. You can chop it up. Body won't protest. So, the whole thing, you are aware of the body, mind, etc. You are aware of their functioning. Therefore, even though they appear to be of the consciousness, that's why now with the new branch of knowledge coming in, biocentrism, in science, the study of consciousness become a big thing. If you go on your YouTube, you'll find a lot of videos and the study of consciousness. It's a good thing. It's a good thing because we are not living in a purely physical, materialistic world. We are living in a world where there is a lot of knowledge and sentiency. It's a living world. It's a living universe. Therefore, the study of consciousness will help us develop more eco-friendly stuff, which is good. But any consciousness that you study through science, by the very definition and the paradigm of science, will have to be this manifested consciousness alone. The consciousness that is manifest in your mind. It cannot be the pure consciousness that I am. The only study possible is with the manifestation. Why? Because to study it in science, you need a subject-object divide. And you try to keep that divide as high as possible, as independent as possible, so that the observer bias does not come into the observed. The observer necessarily has to be isolated from the observed. That's the whole process of science. To remove any observer bias. Even then some bias will creep in, but you will try to keep it to as minimal as possible. So by this very different nature, you are only studying the manifested consciousness. And it is with the manifestation of consciousness of mind that you call the mind, the sentient being, that all these activities are there. All these activities are because of that. So it looks as though consciousness has all this. But the independence of the consciousness is proved by your direct experience. You are aware of the whole thing. The fact that you are aware makes you independent. The very fact that you can say, hey, do you see? Yeah, I see, but not very clearly. I need some help in the form of a pair of spectacles. Proves that. Proves that. So because of that, okay, Kamini, Neeta has finally joined. I think she decided that she is in the wrong place.
Yeah, thank God.
Okay, now to be aware of it. You know, you are aware of every activity of your mind and your function, including the mistake that you make, the right things that you do, what you know, what you don't know. Therefore, none of them are your qualities. So, this is the supporting logic for what the Shastra says. Remember, the Shastra is a pramana. Even though we say, use words like your experience proves it, etc. The Shastra is a pramana. Your experience proves it for you, meaning for you to accept it, that's all. Yeah. The Shastra is a pramana to say consciousness is independent. And the backup logic is all this. Okay? Because why? Why do you need that backup logic? Because you have to understand it. You have to make it a fact of your life. To see the fact that you are an independent entity, body, mind, etc. is dependent on you. This fact has to be very clearly seen by everyone. It is here where on this fact is the clarity of Vedanta based on. You can study text after text. I can teach you for another 10 years. 4 Siddhi Granthas will take you 15 years. Okay. I can. Not a problem. But if you need that clarity in your personal life, this is where the crux is. To see yourself as independent of body, mind dependent on you. We generally see the other way around, that you are dependent on the body and mind. Why? Because functioning is important for you. For all of us, living in this world, functioning or action is important thing. Because nothing happens unless you do something. Nothing happens unless you do something. Nothing is going to happen by itself. So you need action. And that's how the whole thing has started.
Swamiji, you said, independent of the body mind and body mind independent of you.
Yeah.
But isn't it independent of the body mind and body mind dependent on you?
Correct. This is not binary mathematics. Okay. This is neurofuzzy logic. This is not Newtonian logic. Okay. This is neurofuzzy logic. I'll tell you what. Okay. Yeah. Look at this example right here. I'm wearing a kurta. Okay. Wearing a kurta. The cloth is independent of the kurta, but the kurta is dependent on the cloth. The cloth is independent of the kurta. It can be in any form. But the kurta is dependent on the cloth. No cloth, no kurta. No kurta, cloth is still there. Anyway, it's locked down. Not much to do. So let me sit down and remove all the stitching. Sadhu ek kaam dhanda nahi hai. Nothing to be done. So let me remove all the stitches. There is no more kurta left, but there is an odd shape of cloth is there. Kurta is dependent on cloth, cloth is independent of kurta. Same way, the consciousness is independent, body and mind. Body and mind is dependent on me. Difficult for us to make this a fact of our life, because all the time we are action oriented. Why is the lockdown such a big problem for everyone? Can't go out and do things. But you're working from home, you have a lot of work at home also. Half the maids are not turning up, or your society is not allowing it. I know. Whole of India, whole of the world is worried about what's happening in Bombay, and people in Bombay are worried about what? Is my maid going to come today or not? Not worried about COVID deaths and things like that. Maid aayega. You know. So because of that, our thinking is like that. Day-to-day functioning, what? Therefore, since our attention is on that functioning, and we can't do, so lockdown is a big issue. Because so many things I can't do. And because our attention is on the functioning, we think we are dependent on the objects of functioning, on the instruments of functioning, body and mind. And our identification with the body and mind is so strong. In fact, if you look at many of the training processes, whether it is yoga or martial arts or anything, it is to enhance your functioning. No? Any sport that you play, mind-body connection, they'll always talk about mind-body connection, which is correct. But we forget one thing. In all these disciplines, when you reach a certain level, you talk about mind-body connection so that you can go beyond the body and mind. Definitely beyond the body. Yeah. At higher levels in any of these things, that's how it is. But we get too dependent on this. Therefore, all spiritual disciplines are meant to make you independent of it. Ekadashi, fast. Why do you want to fast on Ekadashi? क्या फर्क पड़ा? कुछ नहीं. No, learning to deny yourself, learning to deny the demands of the body, so that you exercise a certain amount of independence over the body. That's all. That's why Swami Vivekananda said there is more spirituality in football, because there also you do the same thing. You learn to push your body beyond its limit. So that body which is comfort oriented. Okay, the body is very comfort oriented. It is meant to conserve energy. The body is because survival of the organism depends upon lowering energy needs. That's why all of us are putting on weight. That shows on the evolutionary scale your body is functioning very well. Because conservation of energy is important for survival. And unlike previously, food is in plenty, and because food is in plenty, we consume more than what is necessary. Why? Because the body demands. Remember, that sense of lack of fulfillment is always there in the heart. I am a finite being, I am not fulfilled as it is. Therefore, that fulfillment you will seek through everything, including food. So to learn to push, to learn to deny. For what? So you know you are independent of the body. Okay, that's all. That's all it is meant for. If that lesson is well learned and part of your life, then no problem. I don't feel like doing this today. Who's asking about your feeling? Do it or don't do it? To learn. Oh no, Swamiji, we have to go by what I feel. Oh my God, Narayana, another thing. Feeling, If I don't feel like that, how can I do it? Yeah. That is the problem. That's why people become so namby-pamby and useless. Because always by feeling. I accept you have to be in touch with your feelings. You have to learn to express feelings appropriately. All that is true. All that is true. You have to share feelings, especially if you are in a relationship. All that is very correct. I accept all that. In fact, I used to do workshops on all this. But that doesn't mean the feelings rule you. You direct the feelings. Otherwise, you can get into major issues, okay? Especially the men, better be careful, okay? You can get into major issues if you are going only by your feelings. Yeah. But Swamiji, we cannot turn off and turn on our feelings, no? Accept it. That's why I taught about the whole cognitive process of changing your feelings, etc. The whole handling emotion workshop. How to cognitively change your thinking process, etc. So your feeling process will change. All this is what? Making me recognizing my independence of the body and mind, from the body and mind, and recognizing that body and mind is dependent on. Important to me. In my life, it is important. Yeah. Okay. Therefore, he says, this is the step one. That the consciousness seems to have all these, but none of these are qualities of the consciousness. All these are qualities. Now we generally will say qualities of mind and body, mind and body. Yeah. But remember, the mind and body is dependent on the consciousness to become conscious, to become sentient. The existence of the mind and body is the existence of the I. Forget existence of mind and body. The existence of this book. Remember, we have seen this long back. People may have forgotten that. What is the truth of this book? Book, where is the book? There is only paper. Yes, Swamiji. Paper in this arrangement will be called a book. If you had clipped it and filed it, it will be called a file. Or if it is not filed, it will be just a sheaf of papers. So what is the truth? Truth is the truth of the book is paper. The truth of paper, wood pulp. The truth of wood pulp, hydrocarbons. Truth of that, molecules. Truth of that, atoms. Truth of that, particles. Truth of that, can go on. Conceptually, we can go on. So what is the final state? Final state should be existence without a form. Because if there is a form, I can resolve it into the content. If there is a form, I can resolve it into the content. So it has to be without form. That means, what are you saying? What is the truth of this book? Formless existence. The truth of this book is formless existence. Somebody said it is nothing. Nothingness is the truth of this book. Come here. I'll give you a whack with this book and you will see how nothing it is. This thin book, small book like this is enough to knock somebody out, okay? If you know how to wield it properly, you can knock out somebody with this. So, keeping that in mind, okay, the existence of the body and mind is because of I existence, Satyam. And because I exist and Satyam is there, there is Jnanam. That same existence is also Jnanam. The Jnanam manifests. In some places only Satyam manifests, like this book. There is no manifestation of Jnanam. But in this body, there is both manifestation of Satyam and Jnanam. Therefore, it looks as though these are all properties of the consciousness. They are not. They are my. Consciousness is me. Everything else is body, mind, etc.
Swamiji,
Yeah, Karthik, any question?
if I might, yes, Swamiji, I actually have a couple of questions.
Yeah, shoot.
One is that from the standpoint of the pramana, even your mind and your sukshma sharira is also finally material. It's
Yes.
sukshma matter.
Yes.
So in theory, nothing should prevent science from, in as it advances, from being able to go beyond artificial intelligence, where you might actually have matter that's subtle enough to actually reflect consciousness, or
Yeah, that I wouldn't be surprised at that. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow you can create life in a laboratory. I wouldn't be surprised. Why? Because you will create matter in such a manner where life can be manifest. You're not creating life. Life is consciousness everywhere. When this
Exactly.
consciousness is manifest in a cell, you call it life.
yes,
So consciousness already manifest. Already all pervading. Is there everywhere. So you're creating an equipment where that consciousness can be manifest. That is not a problem at all. That's not a problem.
it's
at all.
not a problem.
No.
And maybe science will do itself a favor by doing that.
Exactly.
Maybe
It'll
that
make it
might-
easier for me to
many
prove
will
my
drop.
point.
Exactly. Okay. So
No.
that's the first question. The second one was from a subjective perspective.
Yeah.
It feels more as if the mind. It's not so much the mind is in the body, but the body is in the mind. In the sense that
Yeah.
the mind experiences the body and not the other way around. Is that because again the body is gross and the mind is subtle? Is that why experientially it feels
True. See, because the mind is associated with this body, and in a way, the identification is limited to this body. If a bullet passes here, I'll say, "Bach gaya." Why? It didn't touch me. But really speaking, okay, if you're talking in the field of aura, etc., your energy body, it extends beyond the physical. The prana extends minimum 4 inches beyond the body. Your emotional more, about 8 to 12 inches. Your awareful mind even more. You can also extend that. It is because of this all of us have an idea of personal space. Beyond a certain point we are not comfortable. Now of course this is also dictated by social conventions. Because the mind, remember the mind, so the mind social convention. Somebody in Bombay would probably be comfortable with smaller distances. Especially if he has traveled by local trains. Where there is no distance. As long as you can stand and you can breathe, you're okay. Okay. And you get in and get out not by your own violation. You just have to position yourself. You'll get into the train and you'll get out of the train. So, if you are... So, the idea of personal space may expand or contract because of this. Because mind, so conditioning. But really speaking, in fact in the class I proved it with a pendulum and all that. Remember, in this Sunday class when we were having offline class, I proved how the mind is extending beyond the body, etc. Yeah. So it does extend beyond the body. Really speaking, body is in the mind. Mind is not in the body.
Thank you so much.
But it seems like that because the identification is limited. Even if the mind extends beyond, it doesn't identify with the space there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So there is where the whole thing is. Yeah. Apayodbhuttihi nabihi nityadiptihi yatra vyartataha sarvajna sarvadikshuddha sarve janati sarvada. अपायः उद्भूतहीनाः हीनाभिः नित्यदीप्तिः त्रवैर्यथा रविः यतः रविः यतः नित्यदीप्तिः. Like the sun illumines the whole world. Whatever comes in front of it is illumined. Nityadiptihi. Okay. And okay, as far as the example is concerned, the sun does not change, neither the sun nor the rays of the sun change because of what is happening with what is illumined. In broad daylight in Bengal, someone was killed. I'm not going to politics. I'm just giving an example. Someone was killed. The sunlight illumined it. The rays of the sun illumined it. Are the rays of the sun or the sun itself an accessory to the act? But you illumined the guy very clearly, he was trying to hide. The sun or the rays are not guilty of being an accessory to murder. Under the same rays of the sun, a young man saved a child from an accident. He snatched the child away from a car that was going crazy. The sunlight illumined it also. Does the sun and the light get some extra punya because of what it did? The man will get, but not the guy, not the sun. Is the sun partial to this man and biased against the murderers? The sunlight, I can't even say a function. The nature of the sun is to illumine whatever comes in front of it. In the sun, in the light of the sun, whatever has to happen will happen. The flower blooms. Why is the nature of the flower to bloom when sunlight is there? Though you can poetically say, kissed by the morning rays of the sun, the flower opens up and blooms like a young maiden in love. I mean, you can be poetic about all this stuff, but that's all poetical nonsense. Or sorry, poetical sense, okay. I mean, you should read Valmiki's Ramayana for all such examples, okay. You can say all that, but that's just poetry. It doesn't have any meaning beyond that. It's just imagery. You're just playing with emotions. Though you tell a youngster all these things, they'll say, how weird is that? Different type of value structures. So, the rays of the sun just illumine. It's not even a function. This is what I am. The earth rotates, you have day and night. I will just illumine. Whatever is in front of me, I illumine. You rotate, don't rotate, that's your headache, not mine. I illumine. The sun speaking, okay? SUN sun, okay? The other sun doesn't illumine, okay? He only entertains. Okay. Similarly, he says, Sarvajnaha sarvadrak shuddhaha sarvam jnanati sarvada. Sarvadrak, the consciousness, sarvadrak, the one that's aware of everything. Sarvajnaha sarvam jnanati, it illumines everything. Thought comes up, illumines. No thought doesn't illumine. Sleep illumines. Waking illumines. Dreaming illumines. Murderous thought illumines. Loving, nice, kind thoughts illumines. That's it. Consciousness is not an accessory to what is happening in your mind. Therefore, final freedom from all self-judgment is when you understand your consciousness. Otherwise, there will always be some amount of self-judgment depending upon the type of thoughts you have. My God, how can I think like this? You can because you have a mind. And you don't really have a control over the next thought you're going to get. You don't have. You really don't have. I can prove that right now. Supposing I were to say camel, all of you think of camel. You don't have a choice. Nobody is going to think of monkey when I say camel. When I say monkey, you will think of monkey. You don't have a choice. That's the nature of the mind. So you're sitting quietly somewhere. Suddenly a thought can come up from the subconscious. Then you start examining, why did this thought come up? Aya, no? Let it come, let it go. Forget it. Don't overanalyze it, okay? Some amount of analysis is good. Overanalyzing is a problem. Because then you will start seeing psychological problems where none exists. So, the nature of the consciousness also is the same. That's where the sun example was given. It just illumines. Thoughts come, body function, this, that, and now you can give hundreds of reasons of why you are getting that thought, why this thought, why that. Psychological reasons, sociological reasons, reasons based on physics also. You can. 101 things you can give. But we are not concerned with why you are getting that thought. We are concerned with what is your nature. Your nature is to illumine that thought. So a Vedantin looking at it will say, what is that? Thought. Not me. Not me. But in that thought, what is the content of that thought? Pure consciousness. With a name and a form. Form of a monkey, name monkey. What is the nature of the thought? Form, name. Content, consciousness. That's why Kenopanishad said that. Remember we saw Kenopanishad. Bodham pratibodhitam manaha. In every thought recognize what is the pure consciousness that is there. Without consciousness there is no thought. Without the consciousness there is no thought. Remember our meditation that we did? In the ocean of silence consciousness that you are, a wave of thought comes up and dies down. That's all that is there. The whole world enters you only as a thought. And the thought is nothing but like a wave in the ocean of consciousness. It does not have an independent existence apart from the consciousness water that is there. No wave exists apart from the water. I'm not talking about this wave. Hi. Okay. I'm talking about the wave in the water. Yeah. And all that is there is your consciousness. Waves can come and go. It doesn't displace the water. You know, if you study a bit of physics, I'll be very clear. A wave does not travel, does not make the water travel. I don't know whether you remember your school experiments. When you put a cork in a tub of water and you started making waves.
Yes,
With the
yes,
pot.
of course we.
And the cork doesn't move, but water seems to hit the side of the tub and come back. What is moving? Not the water. The water becomes a medium for the energy too. Water doesn't move. But what about the tide in the ocean? That's a different story. I'm not going to explain the whole of geography here, okay? And tidal things and all that stuff. That you can go on the net and search.
Swamiji,
Yeah, Neeta Ben.
can we say the thought has some sort of a form?
Thoughts come from the?
The thoughts, do they have some sort of a form?
Of course they have a form.
Their form.
When you're thinking of monkey, you have a monkey form in your mind. If you're
No,
thinking
I
of a
mean,
camel, you have a camel form in the mind.
No, I mean abstract, just thoughts of.
So you'll get an abstract thought form, like modern
Okay.
painting. How does that modern painting happen? Because you've got some abstract patterns in the mind. No? Sometimes I think they throw some paint on the canvas and call it a name. I'm joking, okay? Don't take it too seriously.
But when you think of consciousness, there is no.
There's no form.
Yeah.
Exactly. How can you have a form of consciousness?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can't have. So there is where the whole thing is. Even abstraction. There is an abstract form.
Okay, Swami, thank you.
It is important to understand that abstraction also is a form. Even though it seems shapeless, shapeless is not formless. Formless means no boundaries. If you have a boundary, there is a form. You may not be able to make out what the form is. That happens to some of the painters. They paint, they don't know what to call it. They call it untitled and they'll try to sell it. Haven't you seen this art exhibitions where you have seen some of the paintings called untitled? Some of the paintings are very clear-cut title. Though I sometimes can't relate the title to what I see there, but that's the painter's perception. He is welcome to have that perception. I don't have to have the same perception.
No, Swamiji, I meant some emotions. By abstract, I didn't mean that sort of an abstract painting or anything.
You meant
Some
an emotion.
certain-
Emotions also have a form. They have a form and an energy behind it. All emotions have form and energy behind it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because what do you think the painter is putting on the canvas? What he feels. That's why I gave the example of the painting. I told you that Dennis the Menace story, no? Dennis the Menace decides to go for a walk in the countryside. And he comes over a nice bridge. And he sees a bearded guy there, flowing dress, unkept beard and hair. And the guy is painting something. So Dennis has not seen something like this before. So he walks up to the guy and says, "Sir, what you are doing?" The guy is busy. "Sir, I asked you, what you are doing?" "I'm painting." "What are you painting?" "I'm painting that bridge." "That looks like no bridge to me." "Kiddo, I don't paint what I see, I paint what I feel." "Oh, if you feel like that, you better go and see a doctor." Correct? So there's always an emotion and this thing can always have an abstract form. It may be highly personalized, only you can see it. Fair enough. That's okay. But it is there. And what does you, the consciousness, do? Objectify it. Even if your thought patterns are such that you need psychological intervention, you, the consciousness, is untouched by that. You, the consciousness, is untouched by that. Problematic thought, consciousness untouched. Happy thought, consciousness untouched. Murderous thought, consciousness is untouched. Very helpful thoughts, consciousness is untouched. But none of those thoughts can exist without the presence of you, the consciousness. None of them will exist. Without the presence of you, the consciousness, not a single thought can exist. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, those thoughts are as such inert.
Okay. Then a little bit he is illumining why this problem of duality etc. comes up. Okay. अन्य दृष्टि शरीरस्थः तावन् मात्रैः अविद्यया जलेन्दु उपमादिभिस्तु तद्धर्मा हि विभाव्यते. अन्य दृष्टि meaning another drishti other than the Shastra drishti. Shastra drishti is you are nothing but pure consciousness. Anya drishti, other than that, what people normally have. Sharirastha tavan matro hi avidyaya. Because this consciousness is manifest through the mind in this body. Avidyaya, because I don't know I am consciousness. I take myself to be what? This much only. Tavan matre. Tavan matre means that much only. Body only. What you see is what you get, okay? This is me. This is me, okay? Jalenduvad upama bhistu. This is an upama. Upama meaning a simile, a comparison, okay? Not upma that you have for breakfast. Okay. Upama. Okay. There is a statement like that where Kalidasa, the great poet, was praised for his upamas, his comparisons, his similes that he uses, metaphors and similes. Metaphors, similes both come under upama, okay, that he uses, and there is a verse for that. Upama Kalidasascha Kapi Kapi Saraswati. Some of you are already laughing. Yes. Upama is with Kalidasa. Kapi was with Saraswati. They both of them got together for breakfast. Ka api. A little bit. Upama is with Kalidasa. You have to go with to Kalidasa for Upama. Kapi meaning a little bit is with Goddess Saraswati. Meaning his Upamas were even more than what Goddess Saraswati was capable of. It's an Arthavada. A verse exaggerating, highlighting the capability of Kalidasa, the poet, to create metaphors and similes. Okay. Upama Kalidasascha Kapi Kapi Saraswati. And if you are a South Indian, you don't call it coffee, no? You call it kapi. Anyway, jokes apart, Upama avistu Jalenduvad Upama. The Upama given is Jalaha Indu. The sun in the, or the moon in the bucket of water. What happens? Okay, tad dharma cha vibhavyate. The reflection gains all the dharma of the water. Water is muddy, reflection is not clear. Water is disturbed, reflection is also disturbed. Water is clear and steady, the reflection is also clear and steady. Therefore, Atma seems to gain, doesn't gain, it seems to gain all the qualities of the mind and body. You know, Shankara in another work has said this very beautifully. The work is Atma Bodha. I think verse 25 or something. Atmana Sachidamsascha Buddher Vritteriti Dvayam Samyoga cha Avivekena Janamiti Pravartate. The Satchit that makes up the Atma, existence consciousness, and the Vritti, Buddhi Vritti is the thoughts that make up the Buddhi. Avivekena samyoga, out of ignorance, an association with each other, a joining together out of ignorance, an association out of ignorance creates what? Janami iti, I know, meaning the ahankara. The ahankara is a clear product. Because when you say I am like this, what is that I am like this? Ahankara. What is ahankara? Okay, one way of looking at it is aham karoti iti. I am the one that does, goes about doing. And what you do depends on what you have taken yourself to be. Therefore, your whole conceptual self is ahankara. And that concept is born like this. Since I don't know what I am, but I know that I am, my existence is self-evident. But what I am is not self-evident. I am ignorant about that. Therefore, I am bound to have a concept about myself. And that concept will depend upon what I am associated with. And I am associated with this mind and this body. Therefore, my fundamental self-concept will be based on this. Then, on how this body and mind is treated by others, starting with your parents, your siblings and uncles and aunties onwards, to your teachers, to your school, to your friends, to your partners, to your religious leaders, to the country, to the sadhus that you know, asadhus that you know, all of them. It will depend upon all these things. That's modification, but the basic concept is what you have. To what you have done, to what you have achieved, to what you have not achieved. It's very funny. Self-concept, each one has their own. Depending upon their value structure, that sometimes you'll find it so ridiculous. Yeah, it may be ridiculous, but it's understandable. And sometimes you won't wonder, how can the person be thinking like this? That only shows human beings are capable of thinking very differently from what you hold as normal. That's all it means. Like I know this person, a lady. She's a doctorate and top in her field. Really, among the top in her field. A doctorate, very successful career-wise. This some years back. But her whole self-esteem was based on the fact that I am not lovable. Unless I find someone who can love me, I am not good enough. Can you imagine that in today's world? We cannot imagine it, but that's what her thinking was. What to do? I tried to help her out, but you can't help everyone out anyway. Anyway, I am not Jagat Guru, so I don't have to help everyone. So, it's okay. So, the person found somebody. And then everything was fine. And after about 10 years of the marriage is going fat. Now what will happen? I'm concerned. Because your whole self-esteem comes from there, then that goes off, what will happen to you? Hopefully 10 years has been some growth, therefore the self-esteem will hold. Even though take a few blows, it will hold. But how can you think like, but you can think, because that is your concept of what you are. So you can have endless self-concept, and that self-concept is dictated by first your body, mind, then how that mind has been shaped by your experiences, your upbringing, the culture, all that we have seen in our self-esteem workshop. Parental messages, etc. All that we saw. How it shapes you. The good thing is, the whole thing is mithya. You have to deal with it though, okay? Even though you are going to junk it, you still have to deal with it. Nowadays you have to treat garbage before you throw it out, okay? Therefore, you have to deal with it to an extent and then see your freedom from the whole thing. That's what he is trying to do here. To see your freedom from the whole thing. And however healthy your self-esteem is, you'll always fall short of what you are. You'll always fall. Why? Hey, you are nothing but limitless consciousness. Ananda Swarupaha. What can equal that self-esteem that comes from there? Nothing. This is what it's really about. Everything else is for you to be functionally okay. So because if you are functionally okay and you are functionally healthy, Uddhared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayet. 6th chapter of the Gita. Lift yourself by yourself. Uplift yourself. Have a healthy self-esteem. Don't look down upon yourself. Why? Because if you don't have that, you will not even have the guts to try for what Vedanta is offering. Vedanta is not offering you success or money or name or fame or anything like that. It's offering you the limitlessness itself. Do you have the guts to try? If my teacher can do it, so can I. Yeah. Why? Because my teacher also was born like the same idiot I was born. Yeah, I'm saying that. The worship my Guru. But I still say that. He was born, he was like that only. No? He could do it. Why can't I? Why can't you? Anyone can. What does it take? The pramana, you, and a ready mind. That's all. Of course, the pramana has to be handled by somebody. Somebody has to communicate. Fine. If these three things are there, you will know. And these three things are there anyway. But Swamiji, why is it not happening to me? There is nothing to happen. Whatever has to happen has already happened. Look into your mind. See what little fine-tuning may be necessary here and there. See where you need some fine-tuning, some clarification, whatever is necessary. See, some of those things may be necessary a little bit. Because the knowledge takes place in the mind. No? You can't junk the mind and have knowledge. Because Atma doesn't have the problem of ignorance. Atma is objectifying that ignorance that is there in your mind. The mind has a problem of ignorance, therefore in the mind that knowledge has to take place. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. But the mind, but the I seem to take on all the dharmas of the body and mind. Even though, really speaking, I am independent of the whole thing. Aviveka Samyoga, he calls it. Out of ignorance, the whole Samyoga is happening. Out of ignorance. The basic fact is that if I am aware of myself, I am, and I don't know what I am, I will always conclude something about myself. Unavoidable. Unavoidable. Remember the old example I used to give? I always stick to the same example, that when I mention the example, people will remember it. The actor on a stage, playing the role of a beggar, falls down and gets temporary amnesia. He wakes up thinking he is a beggar because he is dressed like a beggar. People on the stage are treating him like a beggar. Therefore, I must be a beggar. I am not happy. I am not happy with that conclusion, but I must be a beggar. Similarly, none of us are happy with the conclusion we have about ourselves. None of us are happy. That's why you don't like to be slaughtered, no? You don't like to be labeled, no? Even though those labels were self-created, still you don't like it. Yeah. Because we are more than that. Somewhere in the dim recesses of our mind, there is that glimmer that I am more than this. Or at least consciously, I want more than that. Therefore, you struggle for your freedom. You struggle against all labeling. But you have created those labels. You have judged yourself, sometimes too harshly. So I'll be kind to myself. Won't solve the problem. A kind judgment or a harsh judgment, a judgment still remains judgment. Only knowing what you are will change the whole issue, not otherwise. Okay. Then there is next verse goes into too many other things, but before that, is this all this clear? I have been elaborate about it. Is it clear, or are there any doubts?
Swamiji, I just want to ask something.
Yeah.
When you were explaining verse 55, you said that whenever there is a thought in the mind, you see that it's a form, name. You gave an example of the monkey thought. So name, form, content, and then consciousness.
Yeah.
So basically, what you see when you say content, what you see is that these name and form in the nature of thought are the manifestation of consciousness, and then it's all pure consciousnness. Do we understand like that? So
In a way, look at it like this. Manifestation of cloth as kurta, cloth as a shirt, cloth as a kurti. In all of them, cloth is common. What is changing? Name and form. Like this, it's a kurta. If I made it shorter with buttons here and a proper collar, etc., it will be a shirt. If it is shorter, etc., it will be a kurti. So name and form changes. What is continuous? What is intrinsic into the whole thing? What is common in the whole thing? What is unavoidable in the whole thing is cloth. What changes is name and form. So similarly here, what changes is the name and form. What is there is nothing but one consciousness. Name and form can change. That's why it's called mithya, name and form. Why? Because no name or form can exist without the content. There is no form without a content. Don't, okay?
Yes.
My birthday just went by. So I'm asking you all for a gift. Okay? Don't make it, just think. Think of a kurta for me without cloth or without a material. You'll become like the emperor's new clothes. The emperor can wear it, the sadhu won't. You cannot even think, na, of a kurta without a material or a dress without a material. You can't even think about it. Forget making it. So, what is unavoidable? What is intrinsic? What is constant? Is that I consciousness. Existence consciousness, the constant. What keeps changing is name and form, etc. Guna, karma, all that thing will keep changing. Consciousness is common, everything else keeps changing. Consciousness is only constant. Other things change. What is other? Really, tell me, what is other? We say other things keep changing. Now this is a language. When we say other things keep changing, what is the other thing anyway? There is no thing.
Your name and form.
Therefore, there is no thing.
No.
Where is the thing there? There is no thing.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, you said the consciousness is manifest in the mind,
Yep.
and then it goes to. This is what I understood. Various places. Then can we say?
Consciousness does not go anywhere. Your mind can go to various places.
Yeah, it is manifest in the mind, and then mind goes to the.
Yeah.
As you said, various places. Does it mean that mind is superior to other body parts?
In a way, you can call it like that because the mind controls the body anyway. Mind survives the body. Therefore, in that way, you can say it. Yeah.
Okay.
That way, you can say it.
Somewhere I heard these Indriyas started fighting among themselves.
Oh.
Prana said, I am superior. Vani said,
I can give you various. I can give you varieties of the stories. Some of them are unparliamentary, cannot be mentioned in the class, especially with a recording on.
Okay.
About who's the boss.
I know. Thank you.
So that's
Swamiji,
Yeah.
can I ask something? Yeah. I just wanted to clarify. This Brahman is always with Maya Shakti,
Yeah.
So it's Anadi, and so it's like Vyakta and Avyakta Maya Shakti, right?
Yeah.
So means in a way Brahman is always there with Maya Shakti only, no?
Yeah.
No.
Because we say Brahman is all self-existent and all that. So same if Maya Shakti is also Anadi, then that same thing will apply to that also.
No.
Okay.
Because you are assuming here Maya is an independent existence. Then will be applicable, but it's not an independent existence anyway. It's dependent on Brahman. So since it doesn't have an independent existence, all those arguments are not applicable. Yeah. That way.
And so once we understand and validate that we are Brahman,
Yeah.
then Maya Shakti will not be there.
It will be there. Because the world will continue. No? World is not going to disappear. My body is not going to disappear. Thank God. Otherwise problem हो जाएगा. Nobody will want to study Vedanta. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
अरे भेलपुरी डिसअपियर होगा तो क्यों करने का? कैसा पढ़े वेदांता पढ़ेगा? वड़ा पाव will disappear.
Swamiji, for a Jivan Mukta
Yeah.
who understand that there is no real world, him also Maya Shakti would mean
For you, does the flat earth continue?
yeah, that Badhitam.
Exactly. Same way. Maya Shakti, body, mind, everything will continue. Badhitena. Badhitena it will continue. As a negated thing it will continue. Otherwise, how can a wise person teach? If that Maya Shakti is not there, how can the wise person teach?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. He is not taking functionally you and I are one and the same. No? He is saying as consciousness you and I are one and the same. Functionally, you are accepting a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if functional differences are there, that's part of Maya Shakti. So Baditena it will continue. We will say it's only experiential. It's not a reality, it's only an experience. The problem is in today's world, experience is given the higher status. Because we are all after experiences. Buying a flat is based on experience. With all these facilities, you have a great experience of living. We have a gym, we have a swimming pool, and you really go in to see, look at the gym and the swimming pool. 100 flats, but 2-3 people in the gym, 2-3 people in the swimming pool. That's all. Nobody else uses it. They bought it for the experience, but where is the experience? Even the experience is not there. So that is where the whole thing
So
comes in.
will the
Yeah, Karthik?
Sorry, Samjay, I was about to ask, will the Maya Shakti for a Jnani be still powerful enough that in the Swapna Avastha and Shushupti Avastha,
Yeah.
the experientially it will still be
Yeah.
dualistic?
It will
or
be the same, of course.
It will be dualistic.
The wise person will also have dreams, and the wise person's dream may be sometimes very unwise also.
Okay.
Because see, dreams come from your samskaras. Your samskaras come from your previous experiences. So in the previous experiences, you are not wise. So you could have some ridiculous dreams also. Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Swamiji, there is one. I'm sorry, it's not a very
Yeah, shoot.
well articulated question, but you will understand what I mean.
Hopefully.
When we have Akhandakara Vritti,
Yeah.
that is the last thing when we, I don't know what word to use, they realize I'm Brahman.
Okay, you recognize that you are Brahman by Akhandakara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even that Brahman, that pure consciousness as we say,
Yeah.
that would be no Maya Shakti there, no? So
That vritti is also because of Maya.
So vritti is mithya. Even Akhandakara vritti is
Of
mithya.
course, Kritva Jnanam Swayam Nashyet. Having given you the knowledge, it dies down. It doesn't
It
remain.
dies.
Like Brahman, it doesn't remain in your mind, you'll have a problem. If Akhandakara vritti remains right through, you have a big issue. Why? Because you can't think of anything else.
Yes.
Sir, one more question can I ask?
Shoot.
Sir, once I know myself,
Yeah.
and will there be mukti or prarabdha or sanchit karma will come in the way?
Sanchita karma will not come. Your prarabdha will continue as long as you choose to live. If you choose to end your life, it won't continue. But if you choose to live, it will continue.
What should I choose?
You decide. If you know the truth, you are free enough to decide. I don't have to tell you. I will say you, yatha ichchati tatha kuru.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because how can I decide for you then?
That will be.
Especially if you are a wise person, how can I decide for you? I won't decide for anyone. That is a different thing. I'll only help the person to come to a decision. But with wise people, why do I have to bother? Naham guruhu natvam sishyaha chidananda rupo shivoham shivoham. Fine. You're free. Decide what you want to do.
So for a wise person also, there is no prarabdha. Prarabdha is also mithya for a wise person.
Everything is mithya. That's why I said if you choose to live, there is prarabdha. Then the question is, why should you choose to die?
Now, even
Why should you
that
choose
is
to live?
mithya, I think.
So since there is no reason either way, you continue in the present status. Maintain status quo. Because there is no reason either way. No? So maintain status quo.
Swamiji,
Yeah?
Swamiji, but see, for a wise man, when he has accepted that the body is mithya, then what is this living and non-living?
Correct.
There is nothing like that. No?
Except for functioning, there is nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who says? You are Ananda Sarupaha, whether you are living or not living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only nice that they continue to live so they can help us. At
You
least.
can help with the others with the knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise then the unwise will teach us and that will be big problem.
That is a big issue nowadays.
That will be big problems then.
Anyway, good place to stop. I'm glad with all the questions. Think it over. If there is anything, you can always